morning, everyone. Good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are, and welcome to this week's Weekly Energy Boost. My name is Elisheva, and I am here today with Miriam Ashkenazi, who is a Kabbalistic astrologer and has graced us with her presence on multiple episodes to share with us more specifics on the unique opportunities that are coming at us. This week, we are blessed with so many different angles and opportunities of newness and renewal that there couldn't be a better week to bring Miriam on to share with us a forecast, but not a forecast. What we can expect and look forward to in 2025, what unique opportunities there are, and how we can prepare ourselves to take advantage of those opportunities. Weekly Energy Boost is a 7-day spiritual weather forecast where we provide our listeners with the most powerful and practical tools to navigate the coming 7 days through the wisdom and teachings of Kabbalah. And every episode ends up offering wisdom and tools that you can use anytime, any week, any year of your life. And we mentioned last week, we did a deep dive into windows in time and how the weekly and the monthly energies affect us. So if you didn't listen to that, pause this week's episode and go back and hear that first, because it sets a great foundation for everything we're going to talk about today. This week, we are still in that 8-day cosmic window that we call Hanukkah, which is all about light from darkness and creating miracles and strengthening unity. And again, that's what last week's episode was about. But as we continue the energy of Hanukkah into this week, not only we get to infuse it into the new moon of Capricorn, which is this Wednesday, January 1st. Not a coincidence there, because we've talked in previous episodes about how because all of humanity is looking at January 1st as a new beginning, even though it's not a new beginning energetically, because 8 billion people are looking at it as a new start, it takes on the power of our energy, makes it a new beginning. This year, January 1st and the 1st of Capricorn coincide. So we really do have a new beginning taking place. And the month of Capricorn is a strong contrast between, it's in contrast to the month of Sagittarius, the energy is different. It is an earth sign. It tends to be a time of focus, hard work, diligence, commitment, perseverance. The Capricorns in our lives are the most dedicated and steady and reliable people. They believe in giving everything. They have a strong work ethic. And Sagittarians can be quite the opposite, kind of whatever goes, going with the flow. Let's see what happens. I'm not into it anymore. And so we'll definitely benefit from that hunkering down energy and being more focused. But the gift of having Miriam here is that she can share with us the different factors and influences that are going to affect us, not only in the next month, but more importantly, all of 2025. And the last time Miriam was here, if you don't remember, you can go back. I think it was in June. I don't remember. I am too. It was not that long ago, but not recently. How's that for an accurate Sagittarian description? She shared with us that there is a transition that's happening. I think it's Pluto moves into Aquarius, and that's a significant move. Pluto is a very slow-moving planet. I think it's a 200-year, right? 200-year cycle, and that's 283. Yeah, there you go. Even more permanent for most of us. So let's start there. How is that transition affecting us, and what else is coming up?
Okay, so first of all, thank you for having me. I'm so excited. I feel like there is so much to share. We'll try to be practical, clear, and really to the point today. So Pluto, last time that we spoke, it's interesting because Pluto, every time it changes a sign, it actually doesn't do it right away. It does it in stages. It moves forward, and then there are 3 times it retrogrades throughout a year or so between the new sign and the old sign. So what happens, which we didn't have a chance to speak about, is that this November, Pluto moved fully into the sign of Aquarius. This is amazing. What it does for us in the platform of understanding the entire year, that actually Pluto ends a movie in our life that started in 2008. and we're starting a new movie. And this new movie soon, when we're going to discuss the rest of the planets, really represent a new era. And Pluto entering into Aquarius means a lot of things for humanity, means a lot of things that will be written in the books of history. And Pluto in Aquarius is a time of a revolution. It's Pluto, the planet that demolish old ways, that brings the energy of rebirth. It's the energy of truth and depth, enters into the sign that is about rebelling. It's entered the sign that it's about new beginnings, about thinking in a way that is a new way and outside of the box. So generally for the world, it's going to be a lot of revelations, and the direction is we have to work together. If we are, as humanity, as people in our larger scale of things, in politics, in the world, going to learn how to work together, and also in the smaller scale within our communities at home, will work together, we can achieve really deep and meaningful changes in our life. This is something that is really powerful. Also, the energy on a more personal note has to do with the revolution, because Aquarius is a revolutionary sign. So the question for us moving into the next phase, until Pluto is going to be in Aquarius until 2043, it's going to be really, what do we revolutionize, if that's the right way to say, in our life? What do we need to really push against and transform, and all the things that kind of stuck and the status quo in our life that has to be already like broken? This is really the question that we ask with this Pluto entering. But Pluto will be here for a long time and kind of like hover with everything else that's taking place in different pace with the rest of the planets.
So part of what I remember you sharing is that it's almost like we go from a theme of like safety and protecting ourselves to this pioneering and revolutionizing energy. What other major shifts do you see coming for us this year?
That's exactly what happens, because it's very rare that all the slow planets move a sign in the same year. So we basically experiencing this year Saturn and Neptune, Pluto, and Uranus all shifting into a new energy. Now, generally speaking, the energy is moving from the earth and the water energy into the air and the fire signs. So we see Saturn moving into Aries. But moving into Aries is not just moving into Aries. If you know, or I'll share with you now, Aries is the first sign of the zodiac. So it always represents new beginning, and it represents new cycle. So Saturn is starting this cycle. Basically, it's a cycle that Saturn was in Aries 29 to 30 years ago. So that's one thing that happens. Also, Neptune moving into Aries, which is the new fire energy, but also starting a new cycle, a cycle of 165 years. So we have those two that are taking place. We have Uranus and Pluto, we already mentioned, moved into Aquarius, but Uranus is also moving into an air sign, Gemini. So we have the air and the fire energy.
So when does that start, though? Because it's all different planets moving at different times. Saturn moves into Aries
in March 31st. And then we have, mistake. Neptune is moving into Aries in March. Saturn is starting in May. This is when it moved. Pluto already moved, and Uranus is moving actually in the upcoming summer in July. But what's interesting, all those planets moving this year, a little bit later, starting in March, they all going to also retrograde this year, going back to their previous sign. So really what we're getting this year is a taste. This year is a sneak peek into this new revolutionary, new cycle, new energy.
Wow.
Yeah.
And so for us personally, when I hear the words pioneer, revolution, even the whole Aries energy, if you know people who are Aries, they're very, I don't know, sometimes they're impulsive, or maybe the right word is spontaneous. They can be very spontaneous. They're not patient, like they want to do things and they want to do it now. So for me, I'm thinking about what's the personal work for me to do? Where do I need to be more Aries in my life?
Right.
And I don't know if you have any guidance or recommendations on how to figure out for me as an individual, for our listeners as individuals, how do we know what the best way for us personally is to take advantage of?
Right. So I love your question, but the question or the answer has to have both sides. Because in one way, I want to be more Aries in my life. In the other hand, I want to learn how not to be too Aries in my life, right? So with each planet, it's a different lesson. But let's start with Saturn, for example. Saturn is going to visit Aries for about 2.5 years, like he does to every sign. And Saturn is the planet of responsibility. So when you talk about Aries, Aries is the me, is the self, is how do I step up, is how do I initiate, is my motivation, my desire. So how do I step up? Saturn is a responsible planet, is the planet of taking an action, is planet also of slowing down, which is actually the opposite energy of Aries. Aries is like fast, so we need to learn to really, it's like, I love the analogy of like when you get a new car or you just learn how to drive, you have to kind of learn when to press
and how hard to press
right? So this is really what Saturn in Aries means. Generally speaking, we need to learn in the next 2 years where we need to accelerate and really like push ourselves faster, and when in our life we need to slow down, and it's not really the time to push so fast. But going back to the point before of responsibility, how do I own my responsibility? How do I own my gifts and my contribution to the world? How do I do more? How do I really step up? Saturn in Aries is stepping up, not hiding, I can't do that, giving the excuses of why I cannot manifest certain things, or how can I not own more leadership opportunities. So Saturn in Aries is a new level, a new layer of like me and my abilities and my gifts, and how do I step into it with full responsibility.
Now, you mentioned before that all of these slow-moving planets are moving from either earth or water into either fire or air. And for those of you that are not familiar, earth and fire are considered, I would say, maybe soulmate elements, right? That they go well together.
Air and fire.
What did I say?
Earth, I thought I heard.
Oh, so no, I meant earth and water.
Yes.
Earth and water. And they also have a similar internal desire of stability, of consistency, of predictability, of security.
Right.
And air and fire are the opposite. Right. So making mention of even that contrast of the thing that all of these planets and all of these shifts have in common is they're going from a more stable, consistent, familiar sign to a more breakthrough, unpredictable, exciting, I would say. I would even, like there's more drama and there's more excitement with air and fire signs. So even if those things don't mean anything to you, it's not something that's familiar to you, the energy level shifts. That's how it feels when you describe it, that we're moving from a more, almost like from the tortoise to the hare, like right. It's slow and steady wins the race, but there's also a benefit to having that pushing, that breakthrough, that momentum that is not always as consistent with the earth and water signs. So I just wanted to bring that up because we mentioned it, but we didn't get it.
But I feel, the universe is always so perfect for our change, right? So even though the shift is tremendous, it's such a bulldozer of planets that are moving into the air and fire energy. There is one thing that happens this year that actually helps us to anchor this energy. And this is not a slower planet. It's relatively a faster planet. It's Jupiter. Jupiter every year shifts a sign. And this year, at June 10, Jupiter is moving into the sign of Cancer. Talking about the air and fire, which is all like so elevated up in the air, right? It's like the sky is the limit. Everything is going to be like all over the place. Will be a little hard for the signs that are more like the earth and water signs, or the fixed signs that have a hard time with change or too many options or a faster pace. But Jupiter is going to be in Cancer. And Jupiter is the planet of opportunities, of growth and expansion. Wherever Jupiter is, it's almost giving us like another tip, giving us a boost, giving us a breath of fresh air, supporting us with certain energy. And this year, it's energy that is needed, is connect to your roots, connect to your family, activate your emotional connection, have and encourage deeper emotional connection. This is something that it's difficult to do with the fire and the air energy. It doesn't come so naturally, but Jupiter is something that's going to be very powerful this year. So to plan things with your family, to engage much deeper in relationship with your family, even investing in your domestic life in a different sense, your wealth, your business, is something that's going to be really powerful. So it gives you both opportunity. I really see it like anchoring down the energy.
You mentioned how Saturn moving into Aries is going to affect us. Can you talk a little bit about Neptune moving to Aries?
Yes. So again, Neptune is much slower planet. With Saturn in our lifetime, we will feel the shifts. Saturn is going to come back to the same point when we were born every about 30 years. So there is like maybe more personal influence that we can experience. But Neptune is the planet of creativity, of idealistic thoughts and ideas. It's really the 99%. And it's also the planets that kind of dissolve any boundaries.
99% meaning like the unseen.
The unseen, metaphysical reality, exactly. So Neptune being in Aries is very interesting. First of all, I would say that there is a challenge with Neptune being in Aries, because sometimes Neptune also represents the element of illusion. The metaphysical reality is the reality that we all want to be connected with, but at times it's also, it's foggy, it's unclear, it's not tangible. So with Neptune in Aries, we have to be careful when we give too much energy to the ego and we don't pay attention. Neptune is the planet of inflation. So in a personal way, our ego can inflate, however you would say it, right? There is this danger that I so like believe and trust my opinion, and I'm unable to see outside of my own way, because Aries is my own selfish, my own agenda. So we have to be careful from that energy. But on the other hand, there is so much opportunity for creativity, so much opportunity to think outside of the box, do things that are outside of the box. But also something really powerful with Aries and Neptune. Neptune is a very spiritual planet. So all of us, and it reflects on our spirituality or on our connection to a higher force, to the creator. So Neptune is breaking the old way of connecting to the creator, or maybe the dogmatic way. I have to do this, and this is within my practices, and this is the way to draw that connection, to draw that like. Neptune in Aries is encouraging us to take a more personal approach into how do I connect the creator? How is it going to look like? And to make some meaningful changes around that.
It's really powerful. I'm trying to draw in my mind the points, on one hand, with Jupiter's influence, we want to, like you said, invest more in our home, our family, our domestic life, let's say. On a new Neptune is telling us invest more in your personal connection to the creator. Saturn is telling us, and again, like you said, it's not just specifically this year. What I feel is exciting, and I think also different about what we're talking about today, is that these are chapters that are beginning that are going to affect history, and not in the sense of like, we can predict that X, Y, and Z is going to happen, but these are lasting movements. They're not Mercury retrograde, which lasts 3 weeks and then we go back to normal. We're moving into different eras in these areas.
Right.
So I'm hearing what you're saying, and I feel like it's important to mention that what the prediction is the change that we're going to experience. And even what Miriam shared about it moves into the new sign and then it moves back, like that there is a wavering in a way before the planet stays firmly in that sign for 200 or 80 or whatever it is years. So we'll have, in a way, the best of both the earth and water quality, and we'll move back and forth this year a number of times. But I'm so excited that Miriam is here to share it, because I feel like it's very easy for us in our day-to-day lives to focus on what's happening with me. And we've often said, you can look at your own life and understand the energy that's happening around you. And that's why we get so many emails and messages from listeners. Oh my God, that's exactly what's happening in my life, because it is so specific and so precise that that's the energy. It's going to awaken an opportunity for you to deal with something, to face something, to adjust to something. For me, giving this kind of year-long perspective is really saying to us, pay attention. Like, that's what I get when I hear Miriam talk, is that, you can easily look at life and say, oh, that's a coincidence, or, oh, that's, nobody else understands what's going on with me. It's only me. I feel isolated and alone, and I'm in my struggle by myself. There is this cosmic machination that happens, right? Like, it's really this orchestration of moving pieces. Again, it's not that the planets are telling us be this or do that, but that the energies are inviting us to do really specific work. And, obviously in the podcast episode, we don't have the opportunity to get specific on what Pisces needs to do and what Aries needs to do and what Taurus needs to do. This is a more what human beings can look forward to this year. But if you want to know the more personal and specific opportunities, and how what Neptune is doing affects you personally, how what Saturn is doing is affecting you personally, you can meet with Miriam one-on-one to focus on your own chart and look at the specific opportunities that are unique to you in the coming year. And we'll share information with you about that at the end of the episode. But it's important to realize that there is an aspect that we're all universally affected by. And then we also have the personal, individual aspects. And I know when Miriam was here talking about money and success, we broke it down a little bit more specifically and gave more specific examples. It just doesn't make sense on this topic to get very specific. Is there anything else that we need to pay attention to or look out for this year?
Yes. So we missed one planet. So
we didn't miss.
No. I thought you were going to end. So I'm like, let's talk about Uranus. So Uranus is also shifting, and it's considered to be a slower planet, even though it's a little faster than Neptune and Pluto. It changes every 7 years. So in July, we should expect transformation, a shift from the Earth, from Taurus. Uranus was in Taurus for 7 years, and it's moving into Gemini. So thinking about Uranus, the energy of Uranus is fast, is accelerating, is new ideas, it's progress, it's revolution. And then in Gemini is air, and Gemini is air ruled by Mercury. You can just imagine how fast everything is going to be. So generally the energy will be powerful and strong, and maybe more manageable in an easy way for all the air signs or people that have air in their chart. Those of us that has more water, earth, or fixed signs, we have to kind of take a deep breath and move into a faster pace, or allow ourselves to be more open, because there's going to be a lot of changes. There's going to be a lot of options. And we need to really learn how to work with that on a personal level and on a community level. It's energy that potentially can create a little bit of division, because this option, and Uranus is always fighting something and wants to do something against the traditional way. So we really want to pay attention that we don't fall into this energy in a divisive way. We need to really work on better unity, always try to create conversations in our life with people. Ideas are good. A lot of ideas is good, but let's brainstorm, let's think. Let's, at the end of the day, think how to bring unity rather than divide. This is something that's very important with this energy. Also very, very important to not overthink stuff. The energy can be very overwhelming. So we just again, go with the flow. It's energy. It's interesting because in the world, it's also going to reflect the world. Society is going to reflect on all the advancement with, technology, AI. So there's going to be a lot of that also on a personal level. What are you sharing with the world? What are you putting on social media? What are you promoting? It's going to be very important because the danger of it going too far or being misunderstood, or it's very important that you're cautious that whatever you spread, whatever you say, it's really, really to promote the energy of the soul, the energy of connecting to the light. And it comes from a place of unity and not a place of division. Yes.
I can see how certain people might be like, okay, that's no big deal. I'm not so much on social media. I'm not much of an activist, but for other people, it's going to be challenging to keep things in perspective.
But also, it's not just social media. Words can travel far.
Right.
So you can be in a conversation with one person, not thinking, saying something that the implication, the effect will be so much more broad than any other time.
And when does that start?
That starts in July. Yeah, to be specific, July 7th.
Okay.
Yeah.
And last but not least, I'm sure it's not least, can you remind us about Pluto and Aquarius? Because I feel that that's all. It's Pluto and Aquarius.
Yeah,
right?
that's exactly where we started.
Right. But I was saying we didn't get really into it. It was more like, how can I take advantage of personally?
Right.
What's not in the big picture, but what's the unique opportunity of Pluto and Aquarius?
So it's a good question. So Aquarius, it's also the energy of if I don't understand something, if I don't agree with something, I have to say something about it. I have to express it. But Pluto in Aquarius wants you to take a deeper look, a more serious look inside, and try to be more tolerant to that energy, that it's not always exactly how you see it right now. So Pluto in Aquarius wants us to, again, it's energy of revolution. It's energy of breaking down old patterns. So if there is a certain aspect in my life or experience or situation where I don't understand, where I don't see eye to eye, don't react to it right away. Don't break it right away. Again, it's also energy of division because Pluto demolishes. But the idea is let's demolish the ego and not really, the other person or not their opinion or their approach because I don't see eye to eye. So it's very important with Pluto in Aquarius to take that deeper look.
It's really powerful. I think also when we talk about these spiritual concepts, I know that sometimes it sounds very theoretical and, abstract, especially because we're talking about things happening in March and May and July. But I think just having this conversation and bringing everybody's awareness to the shift that humanity is experiencing, that it's a collective calling to pay more attention to what we communicate and what's our intention, to pay more attention, to give more meaning and emphasis to all the things that Miriam spoke about. And it might be worth listening more than one time to the episode or looking at the transcript to make sure that you're aligned with the opportunities that are coming up this year. Specifically this week, while you were talking and speaking about the communication thing, I was thinking, not only do we have the new moon of Capricorn, which is actually Tuesday and Wednesday, it's 2 days this week, 2 days this month. And of course, the energy of Hanukkah and that energy of miracles. One additional influence that we have in the weekly energy is the support to actually build bridges, to reconcile, to have proactive communication with people in our lives. And so occasionally I like to call out the opportunity, the unique opportunity that might not have existed 2 weeks ago and might not really serve you in 2 weeks. If you've been thinking about talking to somebody, bringing something up, confronting an issue or a challenge, being vulnerable, having a heart to heart. I heard from a lot of listeners a few weeks ago. We had Daniel Naor on the podcast, and he was talking about how important it is to deal with issues in our families and bring things up and not hide them and not sweep them under the rug. And I got a lot of questions about, well, when should I bring it up, or is there a better time? This is a great week energetically to build bridges and to create closeness, to remove space between you and other people, energetic space between you and other people, with all of these beautiful energies that are supporting us this week. So I just wanted to make a note about that. And then, of course, if you're interested in working with Miriam, having a chart, and by the way, Miriam not only does natal charts and progression charts, but also does family dynamic charts where you can look at all the members of your family together in one session and see the interconnections between you. Birth charts, business charts. Right. So even if you've had a reading and you say, okay, I know who I am and what I'm here to do, if you have a specific area of life that you'd like to focus on, there is a reading that can help you with that as well. And if you go to weeklyenergyboost.com, we have a coupon code there for our listeners. It's good until January 6th. So do not wait. Even if you're going to have a reading 3 months from now, do not wait to schedule that reading, because the coupon is only good for 1 week. And every time we do that, I get all these emails. Oh, I just heard this episode. The episode lasts forever. The coupon lasts for 7 days. Any final word?
Yeah, no, just one thing regarding those charts. Some of you already done charts before. I highly recommend, if you're curious about all the topics that we shared today, is to do the progression transit chart, because that will emphasize this year what's happening. Where does Saturn show in your chart? Neptune, Pluto, and all the rest. So that's all.
Yeah. So yeah, if what we shared today is of specific interest to you and you want to see how it's going to affect you personally in the coming year, it's the progression transit chart that is for you. And we'll be back next week talking about next week's opportunities. But now I feel like for the year, we have this compass to guide us in our overarching work. And I also think that this is a great episode to share with people who you feel might be open to learning more, but are more astrologically inclined versus, sometimes it's hard to bring spirituality up to a friend or a colleague, but astrology is a kind of universally acceptable topic to broach with people. So I want to encourage you to share this episode with friends and family and colleagues. And of course, remind you that Weekly Energy Boost is available on all podcast platforms, YouTube, Facebook, and Instagram. You can follow us on those platforms to receive more support in activating everything we share every week. You can also visit our website, weeklyenergyboost.com, where you'll find the link to sign up for a reading with Miriam, as well as the coupon code and all the things we think are important for our listeners to know about. We also have a donate button there. You can click that if you want to support the production and distribution of our podcast. But as always, sharing this episode, rating and reviewing us, that gets us in front of more eyes every week. We thank you for doing that. We thank you, Miriam.
Thank you for bringing me.
We'll see you next week on the Weekly Energy Boost.